Hi, Dan Kuschell, founder of GrowthToFreedom.com, ProsperityBasedLiving.com, and Millionaire's Mindset. I want to thank you for being part of our day, whether you're finding us on YouTube or iTunes or wherever you're seeing this video today. Today's episode is a special one because as a business owner or entrepreneur, have you ever found yourself kind of stuck in not knowing where things are at in your business, in your company, and going, there's got to be a better way for me to manage, what's going on with sales and client requests and revenue and profitability. Have you ever been there? I know I have. I know, after today's talk or after today's episode, I promise you're going to have more clarity, more focus, more direction, and simplicity building around tracking your business. And the reason this is important, it reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever been boating before, but, as a kid, I remember going boating with my dad. I grew up in the inner city of Detroit, so in the summers, we'd go up to Houghton Lake occasionally when I wasn't playing baseball. And I remember one summer, I went up with my dad, we went boating, and my dad had this little, 12-foot boat with a little engine on it, and we went out, we were fishing and casting our lines, and what happened is this big storm rolled through and our engine blew out. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but imagine lightning hitting all around you. I don't know, I think I was 9 or 10 years old when this happened. And a lot of times in business, tracking our business can be like, being out on a boat with no engine or no rudder, right? See, and when you go out on a boat with no rudder or no engine, you end up crashing or getting hit on the rocks. Now, thankfully, one of the people in the community that we were in saw that we had gone out early and knew we hadn't come back, so he had this big, 30-foot, power boat, and he came out and he ended up essentially rescuing us as we were stranded in the middle of the lake in this thunderstorm. And so it is with business sometimes, right? We don't know where we're at, and usually when things are great, it doesn't matter what we track because it's almost like anything we touch turns to gold. But when we start getting a little bit of a rainstorm or a thunderstorm or even tornado or hurricane, it's really important to have the right metrics in place. And today's episode is about the 7 metrics for maximum profits. And this has evolved over time, and personally being able to operate over 13 companies, also working with dozens and dozens of clients, and in fact, I've had hundreds of thousands of people come through our different tools and resources, so a lot of this has just been honed in and sharpening the axe over the years. So we're going to dive right into this, the 7 metrics for maximum profits. And let me ask you a question. If you had a way to be able to track your business on a daily and weekly basis to communicate not only with your key personnel but your team, on what was going on and when, how valuable would that be? That you could be able to understand exactly where your business was at a snapshot, anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, whether you're on-site or off-site of your business. Would that be of value? That's what we're going to cover today. So that's what the 7 metrics for maximum profits is all about. Now, diving into this process, essentially, I don't know if you've heard these terms before, but essentially some people call building the 7 metrics similar to a dashboard or tracking your KPIs in your company. If you're not familiar with the term KPIs, it's key performance indicators. And every business is a little unique. Every business is a little different as far as what they will track. But I've essentially narrowed it down to 7 critical key factors, 7 metrics for maximum profits that give you essentially a simple one-page analysis, if you will, or snapshot or a dashboard in each of these key components or areas. So number 1 is the one that most people are familiar with, so I wanted to lead off with that one because this is probably something as a business owner you're looking at on a regular basis, and that's your financial statements. Financial statements are great to a degree. The problem with financial statements, they give you a lot of valuable information if you know how to look at them properly. Of course, you've got income, you've got revenue, you've got expenses, and ultimately gives you profitability. Get a chance to look at your balance sheet and equity in, equity out, those types of things. The problem with standard financial statement analysis is, are you looking at the current aspect of the business, the past of the business, or the future? And the problem I have with standard analysis of financial statements is essentially you're looking at something in the past. So let's say you get your financial statements on the 15th of the following month and you look at them, you're already 15 days into the new month. This isn't the current status of the company, this is the past status of the company. So although it's helpful because it can help identify projections for future things that you're going to be doing, it isn't an accurate representation of what's going on now in your company. And that's why we put it number one and why we focus on it, because this is what most companies use to build their dashboard and KPIs built around. So I'm going to take you through the next 7 pieces. Number 2 is revenue and sales. Revenue and sales. Now, the companies I've been able to work with, clients I'm working with currently, we on a daily basis track revenue and sales not only in the whole company, but in categories of different product and service areas. So imagine having a daily snapshot of the revenue and sales that are going on in your business. How valuable would that be? Let's say you were traveling to Europe today. Would that be cool, by the way? So let's say you're traveling to Europe and you got a snapshot report in the morning that showed you the revenue and sales up to the minute in real time of what was going on. Or you could punch in on an application what the revenue and sales were to identify what was going on in your business. Would that be of value? So we find this to be a key part, because you can identify, coming back, Perry Marshall wrote a great book, and he didn't invent this principle, but it's the 80-20 rule. You get 80% of your results from 20% of your effort. So what 20% of effort are producing the 80% of your revenue and sales? It also can help you make key decisions. Next, related to the 7 metrics for maximum profits, are understanding what's going on as far as refunds in your business. Now, when refunds are occurring, there's usually a chain effect. Usually you get a client request first, then a cancel request, then a refund. But by knowing the refunds, as far as in dollar amounts, this is going to give you an indicator to look at. You can have percentages of refunds based on revenue on a daily real-time basis. Also, you'll be able to see those as it relates to financial statements. The problem with refunds usually is they don't show up in financial statements. So, I worked with a client years ago. I won't mention his name today because of certain agreements we have in place, NDAs. But he had a refund rate of somewhere near 30%. And they were analyzing their business on their financial statements. All they saw was revenue. All they saw were expenses, and at the end they had profitability. But they had 30% in refunds. That's a pretty significant number, no matter what product or service you're marketing in the world. So how great would it be to be able to track what your ratios are on a daily basis? So refunds, very important, which leads us to metrics number 4, client requests that come in both by phone and email. Now, there's a lot of reasons that this is valuable, but imagine knowing exactly how many client requests come in. As I've been able to build significant online campaigns at our peak, we were selling approximately 1,000 online education products a week overall. And so, of course, we had client requests. We had a mechanism in place through the metrics that we track to know exactly how many requests came in by email and how many by phone into our help desks and to our phone system. Why? Because that allowed us to know how many people we needed to manage the requests. We needed to know exactly what the requests were, because then we could create better FAQ and support mechanisms by knowing what their key requests were. We were able to create video content based on what the requests were, so that we didn't tie up phone lines and people in support with email. We created automated follow-up as a result. So client requests also can give you an indication of some of the hot things going on in your business, of course. Let's say you have a bad rep having a bad month or a bad year. That client that's being impacted, or those clients being impacted by that one representative, it's good to know who are your better reps and who are the weaker reps. Client request reports can give you an indication of this. 5 in the 7 metrics is lead tracking. Lead tracking. Now, right now, I've got this implemented. I had this implemented at our peak. We had 9 different campaigns going on at one time. And we did lead tracking based on those different lead models to identify how many clicks we had, how many opt-ins, and what type of conversions we were getting as far as a conversion percentage. So not only we did that as far as generating leads, but we also did this lead tracking as far as being able to generate sales, which leads us to number 6 metrics, lead tracking in terms of sales and revenue, in terms of a percentage. So for example, we wanted to know not only how many clicks came in, how many times they opted in, but also how many sales did we convert in numbers, both in the number and the revenue. Because this gave us an indicator as far as what our acquisition cost was for that particular client, for that particular lead. See, a lot of people talk about tracking your leads and knowing your acquisition cost, but here's the reality. If you're advertising in magazines, which we are with a client right now, if we're advertising in magazine, guess what? That acquisition cost is different than if we're advertising on Facebook, and different if we're in Google, different if we're on the radio, different if we're in TV. But if you lump them all together, you're going to have very misleading information. So narrowing it down to very specific tracking mechanisms can help you make key critical decisions in your business overall. Which leads us now to number 7, which is project tracking. Project tracking. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because essentially in another episode you'll actually get the ability to understand a simple one-page tool we've created to allow you to manage your entire company and all divisions of your company by understanding the 5 key objectives, supporting those projects that make it happen. Now, one caveat I will share with this. By the way, is this good information? I wish someone would have taught me this when I first started my first company years ago, because the chances of greater success having the ability to know these things going in would have made a huge difference. And you know what? As you evolve over time, this may be adapted. It may evolve for you, but I will challenge you to this. If you'll put the 7 metrics for maximum profits in place in your business and start having your teams build tracking around it daily, weekly, and monthly, watch what happens to your peace of mind, the freedom you get to experience as a business owner to be able to make the right decisions when, and start to enjoy the freedom that you deserve as a business owner, because that's at the end of the day what it's all about. One caveat bonus that I want to add on here with project tracking, that's one of the critical pieces we found to help advance our companies, advance our business, and working with our clients, is building a marketing calendar into your project system. A true marketing calendar. Why? Because at the end of the day, marketing is what drives sales. Marketing is ultimately what's going to drive your company, drive your business. Whether you're a product business, service, doesn't matter. Imagine, I don't know who your favorite baseball team is, but imagine putting a blindfold on whoever you consider to be the greatest pitcher in history. Some would say Nolan Ryan, some Walter Johnson, whoever is Sandy Koufax, whoever it is for you. But I want you to imagine putting a blindfold on one of those greatest pitchers of all time, spinning them around, and then putting them on a field, not even necessarily on a mound, but then say, okay, here's a ball, now throw a strike. That'd be pretty silly, wouldn't it? And that's what I see a lot of companies do, because they don't have a marketing calendar in place. They don't have a catcher's glove to throw at. And since marketing is the key force that drives all business, why not build a marketing calendar? And that marketing calendar is a monthly tracker or a quarterly tracker of all the activities that you're going to be doing in that quarter to advance your company, advance your growth. So that's it for today. 7 metrics to maximum profits. I want to challenge you to put this in place. And you know what? You don't have to be like my dad and I with that boat without an engine that ended up in a thunderstorm, threatened and scared that we weren't going to make it that day. Right here is your rudder. Right here is your power boat to help you drive business, drive sales, drive revenue, and most importantly, drive peace of mind that you deserve as a business owner. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you soon on another episode of Growth to Freedom.